أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. To all our viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another live stream presented to you by the Ask Islam team in Canada, where we bring you different topics weekly related to different, whether it be religion or uh, contemporary issues as well. And we discuss those topics and with our panelists and that we have in our studios or online. So we welcome all our viewers to the show once again. Before I introduce our panelists for today, I just want to review how this stream works and what are some of the ground rules, so that those of us who are new to the stream, they know when they can ask questions and how this will work. So in the beginning, as mentioned, we have a topic for the week. We will discuss that topic. We will have a monologue from our presenter and our panelist on the selected topic of the week. And then after that, we open up the floor to our viewers to ask questions, whether it be on the live stream on the StreamYard, or you can ask your questions in the comment section as well. And inshallah, we will take up those questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. We have in the studios with us Muslim Shambur Sahib. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
Jazakallah for being here. This is a little bit of a different setup than our usual setup, Rabi Sahib.
Yeah, this is much better.
This is much better, exactly. Yeah, to be here in person, have a good conversation as well. And we would encourage our viewers to please join us on stage to ask questions, because that enables us to have a better conversation and better interaction with our guests as well. So Rabi Sahib, today we are continuing on with the same topic that we had last week, and that was every argument for atheism, a response. And this was in relation to a video by one of a prominent atheist on YouTube. And he had made a video in response to a Christian person who presented, proofs that Christianity or religion is true. And in response, that fellow, the atheist fellow, he said that these are the 28 or 30 arguments that prove that atheism is true, and that it's arguments for atheism. So we covered a few points last week. I mean, he has a list of 30 arguments, and obviously we don't have enough time to cover that in one stream. But inshallah, hopefully we have a continuous session on that video, so we can answer those questions further. But today, Rabi Sahib, we had some questions by our audience previously. And we promised them that inshallah in our next stream we would answer those questions.
The promise.
We have to fulfill the promise, exactly. So today, inshallah, we will be discussing those questions that were raised by our viewers, and they're very polite and get a good conversation we had last time. So before I start off with our first question, I actually want to request our viewers to please share the link to our stream on your social media platforms. I'm sharing it in our comment section right now. So if you can spread this through your social media platforms, share it with your friends so that they may join us and ask their questions and benefit from this stream. So Rabi Sahib, the first question that we had left over or that we weren't able to get to last week was a question that why is it more plausible that a religion isn't made up when that neatly explains all so-called miracles that it didn't happen or made up? So basically, the question was regards to miracles. That does that mean that Allah the Almighty or God, when he performs miracles, does he break his own laws that have been created before? So
yes.
Rabbi Sahib, if you can.
Yes, we did touch upon this subject before, but yes. Actually before coming to this question that was presented in the comments, I would actually come back to the subject of this program that you also mentioned it last time. We as Muslims, as Ahmadi Muslims, we do not deny that the atheism is prevailing.
Right.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
And we did mention some of the reasons in the previous episode.
Right.
And some of the reasons are the wrong or misconceptions that have been added, innovations that have been added to the commentaries of the Bible, the Holy Quran, and other religions as well.
Right.
Due to which people in the West, people in the East too.
Yes.
We don't say that people in the West are the only ones who are educated. We have a lot of people in the East who are educated. When they go to universities, and they start learning about science and different subjects.
Right.
And then they go to the Bible and they read that Jesus was walking on the water.
Right.
He broke the nature.
Right.
Jesus would like remove mountains and so on and so forth.
Right.
Likewise for Muslims.
Right.
They go to universities, they learn something, they read the Quran. God forbid we say that this is misunderstanding about the Quran.
Right.
They say that Jesus is alive in the heaven.
Yes.
Or there are so many other stories as well.
Right. Right.
That Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam, he used to speak with birds.
With birds, yes. With
and there's so many issues, or let's not call it issues, but topics that they misunderstood.
Right. Right.
So I'm not trying to justify it for them, but in a way that they justify it for themselves.
Right.
That we have a reason to disbelieve in God, to disbelieve in these books, these divine books.
Right. Right.
And we as Ahmadi Muslims, we do not come to only tell them the Messiah has come and so many. This is also part of our mission.
A part, exactly, yes.
To tell them that no, you must come back to the Quran, to religion. And what people have misunderstood is just based on their misunderstanding of these verses or topics.
Yes, and Marissa, but sorry to just cut you off. Last week I made a comment that today's atheism is usually in response to Christian Judaism, thought and their books. Somebody commented that no, that's not true. Atheism existed way before Christianity, and that is actually true. That is a fact that atheism did exist before Christianity. But no, we see nowadays, because the Judeo-Christian thought is very prevalent, and that's why in response, atheism is in such a form that it responds to those Christian and Judaism thought. But like you mentioned, it's also the same with Islam as well, with some Muslims, because the ideas are presented in such a way that
we don't actually deny even this reality that it was existing before Christianity as well, even before Judaism. But this doesn't mean that atheism as a belief, it is a belief by itself. It's not that they disbelieved in something, in a God, but they believed in something else. So when you ask them about evolution, about different things that were created, they do say that something created them, but it's not a God.
It's not a God.
So the misunderstanding or the belief issue is about the label. Who created?
Yes, that's a
they say the nature. For them, the nature is a God, for example. They just don't name it God. Which is why they are atheists. But now coming back to Islam and this subject, I just want to emphasize before coming back to the question.
Yes, please.
That according to Islam, according to the Holy Quran, you are allowed to be whatever you want. Atheist, Christian, Jew, Muslim. The Holy Quran says, "Man sha'a falyu'min wa man sha'a falyakfur." And we as Muslims, even if we have a Muslim authority, a Muslim country, Muslim ruling country, we have no right to do anything to the atheists or any other believers in anything, in any God that they may deem it better for them. Because of this verse has been repeated multiple times in different ways of the Holy Quran, we believe that any type of belief is not related to our judgment. We, as we explained last week, that we can preach to them, tell them this is wrong, this is right. But it's up to them
to whether to believe in that,
whether they want to believe or not. I said last week that we as ruling country, as a Muslim ruling country, if we have a Muslim ruling country, the punishments that are mentioned in the Holy Quran are for those who disturb peace in the society. Belief do not. They have their own beliefs. That's fine, as long as you do not disturb the peace and the security of the society.
Exactly.
Now coming back to the question about the miracles. They say that how come God breaks the nature of miracles? Then His rule is being broken. Last week we also mentioned that God says in the Holy Quran that لَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا, that God does not change His nature or the nature of life. So what we explained also last week, that there are rules that we know of them. We as human beings, even atheists, confess
Right.
that they don't know everything about everything.
Right. Right.
They don't know what's behind us. They know whatever scientists and other astronomers have discovered.
Right.
We know, but there are so many things.
So many things, exactly.
That we do not know about. Even the Holy Quran says that I have created things.
Right.
وَيَخْلُقُ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That God created things that you still don't know about.
Right.
There could be a different people living in a different world.
Right.
That we don't know about them.
Yes.
So there are so many things that we do not know about.
Right.
This means that there is parts of nature that we do not know about.
Exactly.
Some of them we get to know, and at first time it would be a miracle. And I presented the example of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes.
When he pointed at the moon, it split. They didn't know much about moon eclipse.
Right.
But when it happened, the miracle at that time, it was the timing.
It was a timing.
When he pointed at the moon eclipse happened.
Right.
Which was a miracle, and was a clear miracle.
Right.
And if we come to another miracle that happened during the time of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, the milk, when Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu was drinking in the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made him first to make all the guests drink from a small pot.
Right.
And then he told Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu that now your turn, you drink. And he drank. And the milk that apparently seemed to be enough only for 2-3 people was enough for probably 10-12 people.
10-12, yes, exactly.
So these things, maybe they have I don't know about them yet, scientifically.
Right.
But people may find out the nature in the future.
Right.
But the way it happened before a prophet, in front of a prophet the first time, it is a miracle.
Yes.
And there are so many different types of miracles, of course. In these days, in the latter days, we have the promised Messiah alayhi salam.
Right.
He has mentioned so many other miracles, and so many of them happened with him.
Right. Right.
So those miracles, so for example, I'll mention one. He had a long debate. I don't know for how many weeks it went with one of the Christian priests.
Right. The Jangi Muqaddas.
Jangi Muqaddas, Abdullah Atam.
Right. Right.
So at the end, he made something called in an Islamic, I'm not sure what they call it in English, but it's called Mubahla.
Right. Prayer duel.
Yeah,
in which like that. Yeah.
In which actually we do not prefer this way, but sometimes for the sake of guiding people, of actually taking people out of the darkness to the light.
Right.
So the Prophet Messiah alayhi salam, when they mentioned this to him, that we do not find any Muslim scholar who can answer our questions, come if you can answer, if you can defend Islam, come and sit with us.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, but I don't really want to come and sit in a debate, and it's just a debate that creates more hatred.
Right.
And none of the two parties would believe in anything.
Right.
This is just nothing. It's going to go for vain. Let's make it beneficial.
Right.
Let's decide. Let's announce it beforehand.
Right.
That we are going to have a debate for probably 15 days now, I remember.
Yeah, something like that.
Something along this line.
Yeah.
6 days first, and then 6 days, and then the 7th day was the Mubahla. He said for 6 days they're going to have the debate, and then on the 7th day they will announce that the person who believes in Jesus to be a God, and that he is everything, he created everything, so on and so forth, different beliefs about Jesus. So Abdullah Atam, the priest, would say that I believe that Jesus created, and so on and so forth, everything complementing Jesus, peace be upon him. And if he says these things, and he says the Quran is wrong, Islam is wrong, then some sort of severe punishment should happen to him within a year. Although we do not prefer punishing any person,
of course,
but this is for the sake sacrificing one person. We always believe in the idea of sacrificing something small for the greater good. For the greater good.
Right.
So, and likewise, the promised Messiah alayhi salam would say the same thing.
Right.
That we believe that Islam is a true religion, the Quran is a true book, and Jesus was just a messenger. He was not a God. He was a true messenger of God. And if I am wrong, a severe punishment should happen to me. It's severe in the sense that people should notice that this is from God within 1 year.
Yes.
If something happened to them within 1 year, then that's clear.
Exactly.
There are different miracles that happen, and the purpose, because this question that you just mentioned, also it's highlighting the fact that miracles, basically, if they existed, not existed, what do they do to us?
Right, exactly. What's the point of the miracles?
What's the point of miracles?
Yes.
So coming back to this, I would say that the miracle, as the Prophet Musa in one of his couplets, one of his poetries, he mentioned that हर दम निशान ताज़ा का मुहताज है बशर किस्सों के मौजिज़ात का होता है कब असर. He says that every single moment, every human being is in need of to see some sort of miracles from God. Otherwise, to keep reading, even from the Holy Quran, mere stories that this happened to Moses, this happened to Jesus, this happened to Solomon, this happened to Prophet Muhammad in the past, will not do much to you. It could inspire you temporarily, but you need to see the miracle yourself. Therefore, how can we believe in a true religion that it's a true religion? You have to have a true living God within that religion at all times.
Exactly.
Not once upon a time.
Right.
At all times.
Yes. Yeah, no, you made great points. And I think, I mean, not even just the society that we live in today, but I think every society in every millennia or every generation, that society or thinks that, oh, they know everything.
Yes.
They know everything. We figured everything out. We know the laws of nature. We figured out God. We figured out reason. And so because of that thought, they make reason their God and to explain everything. And that thought and that, you can say takabbur, it leads to some form of atheism that, okay, our reason is everything, our scientific findings are everything. And especially nowadays in our society, in this era, I mean, science is at its, uruj, at its peak. Yeah. I mean, compared to other societies before us, it seems as if we've figured out everything. But if you look at the scientific literature, ask anybody in the scientific field, they're like, we're still not. The more we discover, the more we know that we don't know a lot. Like we still need to discover more things, and so that unknown, things that we don't know about that still exist there. Of course. But just saying that, we've figured out science, we figured out how such and such law works, that doesn't necessarily mean that
actually, to summarize all this in better words, I did prepare find a video of Hazrat Khalifa Masih al-Rabi.
Right.
If you can play that for the viewers. It was about the miracles.
About the miracles, yes. Okay.
This question is from Lucy Clark from Fulham. She's a student.
Yes, please.
What is the Ahmadiyya view on evolution?
On evolution. Get hold of this
from Fulham.
Oh, yes.
She's a student.
Yes, please.
Start from the beginning.
That's the next one, right?
This question is from Lucy Clark.
The miracles.
Oh, the miracle ones, yes. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Many miracles have been shown which seem to be against the laws of nature. Do the laws of nature change? And can we divide these laws into physical and spiritual laws of nature?
As far as the first part of the question goes, there is no miracle against the laws of nature. The miracle is only against the then known of laws of nature. I can give you many examples of this. When the science progresses, but there is an age in science when a certain area is not understood by the scientists. So if God controls the laws of nature to produce a natural thing, it will be amazing for the people of that age, because until then that natural law has not been fully understood. Now I can give you a simple example, very simple. Magnetic force. If somebody bears a helmet, strong helmet, and a very strong magnet is fixed in the ceiling, if it is strong enough, the man along with his helmet can be lifted. Now when people did not understand this law, and someone, suppose, stood underneath wearing a helmet underneath a magnet, He would be lifted and people would say, here is a miracle, here is a miracle. While it is just a natural thing. It's not a miracle at all. It only becomes miracle when to prove the authenticity of a prophet, Allah employs these laws of nature which the Prophet himself does not know and does not know how to employ them. When he employs them to his advantage, for that period, that becomes a miracle. Thank you.
Jazakallah for that video, and I think Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah beautifully in just few words explained the reality of miracles, mashallah. So we have two more comments that from last week that we still have to inshallah get to respond to, inshallah. So that was the the miracle, and hopefully our viewer or our commentator who asked that question, it was able to join us today and listen to our conversation. If not, this is being recorded and inshallah will be available on YouTube for our viewers to go back and listen to this again. So the next question that was asked last week was regarding evolution, and obviously this question comes a lot as well. Atheists ask this question a lot, especially related to the evolution story presented in the Bible. And one of our viewers asked that considering that evolution is true, considering that if evolution is true as presented by science these days, and no religious creation story predicted it correctly, wouldn't it lend credence to the idea that creation stories and their gods are made up? So to put it into a few words, if evolution is true, and all the religions that present the story of creation, they do not correspond with the evolution story presented by scientists, would that mean that religion is made up because it doesn't correspond with the scientific thought that is presented today?
Yeah, I think this is a very good question. And this question will bring us to our basis, to our foundation.
Right.
And this I would advise even our own Ahmadi members, our Muslims, Muslim brothers, Christians, people of other beliefs, and then coming back to the atheists themselves. For the atheists and for both parties, I would say that first, our foundation is God. It's not the scientists, not the scholars, not the human beings, not anyone else. Our foundation is God. Yes, we do believe that the Holy Quran does not contradict the proven science that has been proven to be correct. We do not believe in this. However, it could be that the scientists are human beings. They can make mistakes. God will not make mistakes. If he mentioned something in a certain way, that will be correct even if we did not discover it yet.
Right.
And their discoveries could be incorrect if afterwards we discover that it was incorrect. Now, coming back to the evolution, yes, we do know the theory of Darwin. That Darwin, he basically
started the theory of evolution
by chance, and then insects and so on and so forth. Human beings were not human beings. They were insects. They developed to animals, to monkeys, and so on. Then God made them human beings. We, according to the Holy Quran, do not believe in this. That human beings were insects before. And our first and fundamental verse of the Holy Quran that says this is that God the Almighty very simply said, "Khalaq al-insan." He created human being as human being from the beginning, from stage one. But yes, they said in the comment, I think, that the Quran does not, or the holy scriptures or religions do not really describe or do not mention the details of evolution. No, we say that yes, maybe previous scholars were unable to discover how it was mentioned in the Holy Quran. But yes, as I mentioned last week, by the grace of Allah, the Holy Quran has mentioned every single thing. Some of the things we can see them very apparent, and some of the things we need commentators to explain them to us, and some of the things we have not discovered yet, but they are mentioned in the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran itself says وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ عِنْدَنَا خَزَائِنُهُ وَمَا نُنَزِّلُهُ إِلَّا بِقَدَرٍ مَعْلُومٍ. That we have reserved everything in this book, in the Holy Quran. And we will keep revealing it as the time goes.
Right.
Revealing, He has revealed the Quran once,
Right.
the verses of the Holy Quran.
Yes.
But we will reveal to human beings to discover
right. The new truths,
the new discoveries that they have been doing.
Right.
And they will find it in the Holy Quran.
Right.
Likewise, coming back to evolution, is mentioned in the Holy Quran. God in the Holy Quran mentions that وَقَدْ خَلَقَكُمْ أَطْوَارًا.
Right.
He has created you from lower stages and step by step to upper stages.
Right.
Likewise, there are different verses of the Holy Quran that mention how human beings were created from water, for example. وَمِنَ الْمَاءِ جَعَلْنَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ. That from water, God make all living things come to life. So there are small pieces, bits and pieces here and there.
Right.
And when you connect them together,
yes.
you find that God actually explained everything.
Right.
And people are discovering, scientists who are not Muslims also,
Right.
are discovering it today.
Right.
That this has been, this is true, and it has been mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Yeah, Musa,
yes.
Sorry.
Actually,
want to finish your thought?
I know I finished my thought, but I wanted to mention that for this too, I also found
a video.
Video about evolution.
Yeah, so let's watch the video and then I'll just present a quick comment after, inshallah.
From Fulham, he's a student.
Yes, please.
What is the Ahmadiyya view on evolution?
On evolution?
Yes.
Ahmadiyya view is based on the Quran. And the Quranic view is that the Quran does not reject evolution at all. In fact, it positively supports the idea of evolution, but an evolution which is directed evolution, which is organized evolution. And on this subject, I have written volumes in this book which is lying over here, and it's impossible for me to develop this theme further. The difference is that the so-called Darwinists believe in a haphazard evolution which got its origin from nothing, from no conscious being, no organizer. As such, if you accept this view, according to their own beliefs, according to their own scientific understanding, such an evolution should have led to the creation of man for a period of, say, trillions of years. Because if only chance directed the steps of evolution, then it should have taken much greater time, so great a time that cannot be attributed to the origin of this universe. So all these things are discussed in detail. I have discussed the theory of genes. How can gene control things while they are deprived of any conscious mind? But they control things in a manner as though they were conscious. And they create things which they cannot create because they are creative forces within set laws. And evolution requires influences which are outside their control. So these are rather involved matters. That is why I apologize in the beginning that it will be very difficult for me to explain all these things here in this short sitting. So if you get hold of this book and show patience to read it through, I'm quite sure that all your questions will be satisfactorily answered in this book. Thank you.
So We heard from Hazrat Rabi, mashallah, well-knowledge and a great response by him.
The fact that he mentioned the genes in his book, he explained it.
Right.
He was saying that genes, they do not have any brains to think how to do things, yet they control some things. He was trying to hint to the fact that there is a higher being commanding them, do this, do that, and then they come together.
Otherwise, it would take trillions of years,
exactly.
as you mentioned, but
so the main point over here is that they do not do anything by themselves. So who's controlling them?
Right.
And he explains so many natural things that, for example, the sun, the moon, and the mountains and everything, how it works, and how they do not have brain to time it and to come on the right time, right place.
Exactly.
So there is a higher being who's controlling them. They do not think.
Right.
So you can.
So no, I mean, Zub presented it very well, and as the viewers know, that Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi rahimullah, he at the end he talked about that. You'll find the discussion in this book. So that book is by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi. It's a very lengthy book, but amazing arguments and amazing discussion in that book, especially regarding evolution, suffering, and many other topics related to the existence of God. Revelation, rationality, and truth.
It's on Al-Islam.
It's on alislam.org. You can find it online. It has a PDF, if you like to read on iPads, or there's also a printed copy as well, but that's quite thick. Very big, and it's intimidating, but it's actually not that long. It's a very good read, and we would encourage our viewers that if you want to learn about the topics that we're discussing today, many of the topics are actually discussed in that book related to atheism as well. I'm trying to see if the book is here.
It is right behind you.
We can see, but it's probably locked. Yeah. So you can go to alislam.org and look up that book and study it, and you'll find a lot better discussion and a more detailed discussion in that book presented by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Rabi. Of course, we don't in this show, at least we don't have enough time to discuss evolution, and we'll probably need another stream just for discussing evolution and this part. So Jazakallah Rabbi Sahib for that. Moving on to the we do have some questions in the comments. Do you want to answer those, or do you want to go to the next question?
Well, we can take the live questions first.
We can take the live question. Okay. So, the first question from Usman Ahmed Sahib is that he says, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, will humans have free will in the life after death?
Okay, that's a very good question. First of all, we do have free will over here in this life.
Yes.
God the Almighty says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. These two words are related to this life only. The word believe or disbelieve. The choice is only for here.
Right.
And therefore, the hereafter, there are other verses that explain that there is no choice, no free will. Whatever you have done, the result of it you will see in the latter days. But since this touches upon the subject of the latter days, let me just briefly mention something.
Right.
According to Islam, so Islam believes that after a person dies, and he had his life 60, 70, 80 years, 90 years, he had this life to prepare for the hereafter, which is a longer life. So let's say if we were to number the number of years we were to live, our souls, then let's say it's more than that, but let's say it's millions of years.
Right.
Imagine you have only 60, 70 years to decide how you're going to grow in the rest of the years. So according to Islam, when you die, you go to something called a second stage, which is called Alam al-Barzakh in Arabic, Barzakh. In Alam al-Barzakh, our belief, maybe later on, I don't know if it has been proven, I'm not much equipped with the science, but it could be proven already. Every single soul requires a body. It can never survive without it, even after death.
Yes.
So when we die, our souls will go to the second life, Alamul Barzakh, and over there is another body that you have created by your deeds in this world. So if you have done good, you have built a body that's waiting for you, your soul will go and live in that body. And that's called the waiting period. Waiting period till you go to the Day of Judgment. And the Day of Judgment is when God tells you where to go. And the thing I wanted to mention here, and this is a very beautiful teaching about Islam, is that paradise is eternal. it's not temporary.
Right.
However, the hell
Yes.
is not eternal.
Is not eternal. Yes.
It's ending.
Yes.
But this
many
does not
religions,
mean
like Muslims, but some Muslims believe that it is eternal. Like hell
yes,
is eternal.
because they say khalidina fiha, and they
Right.
misunderstood the word khalidin.
Right.
The word khalidin is mentioned about paradise and hell. However, when Allah explained the period, how long will you stay there?
Yes.
He says, khalidina fiha illa ma sha'a rabbuk.
Right.
Ata'an ghayra majdud. That this is a grant from God that will never be cut.
Yeah. So the word ghayri
majdud proves that paradise is eternal.
Is eternal.
However, there is no such a verse said about hell, which means, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ explained it in one of his hadith in Sahih Muslim. He mentioned that one day will come upon hell, where it will be completely empty.
Yes.
But having said this should not encourage people to actually do evil and say eventually we're going to go to paradise. Why? Because in Surah Naba, God says, after explaining how long khalidina fiha ahqaba, and then he says jaza'an wifaqa. Ahqaba refers to probably hundreds of thousands of years, or it could be millions of years in hell.
In hell, yeah. That's
and then jaza'an wifaqa in the same chapter he said, which means that it depends on however much you treated God, or however much you did in this world, that's how much you will receive in the hereafter. You did good, you will receive good. You did bad, you will receive bad, concerning beliefs and other things as well.
Right. So no, I think Usman Sahib, I mean, he said that if not, like if we won't have free will in the hereafter, will we become like angels? But I think Usman Sahib, in Islam, we believe that human beings are a greater makhluk than the angels, and Allah the Almighty says that
you should prostrate to human beings.
The angels should prostrate to the human being.
Adam.
Yes. So going to the hereafter, in that context, becoming an angel is kind of like a downgrade, because human beings are a higher sentient being than angels. And the reason I think for Allah the Almighty saying that human beings are a greater sentient being is because they have that free will. They have the choice to make decisions for themselves, while angels do not have a choice. They only do things that Allah the Almighty has commanded them to do.
يَفْعَلُونَ مَا يُؤْمَرُونَ.
Yes, exactly. So because humans have free will in this world, they have the capacity to act upon their will. They are thus subject to a greater reward. But at the same time, if you do bad things, then you're subject to a greater punishment.
Exactly.
Punishment as well. It works both ways. Both ways.
So under the fact that in paradise, once everyone goes to paradise, God is fair. We have to remember.
Yes.
So if there is a person who is doing good but not good enough as other people who are working hard to reach God, to be close to God, to call other people to God, and to do good to people, in Islam we summarize it by saying giving God his rights and giving human beings their rights. As in, your right on me is that I should respect you. If you're my neighbor, I should treat you well, and so on and so forth. There's so many teachings. So if you get sick, I should call you and ask about you. If you're in a hospital, I should call you. If you're in need of something, I should try to find out, try to help us. So many needs for all other fellow human beings. It doesn't, regardless of their ethnicity and religion and so on. So we have so many rights towards human beings and so many rights towards God that we have to fulfill. Once you fulfill them, then in paradise, the Holy Quran mentions there are different stages. You will not all be at the same stage in paradise. And one of the ahadith explains that each stage, there's probably 100 years in between each stage. Which means that there are very, very big targets to reach.
So you shouldn't say that, okay, just because I got into paradise or heaven, there are no more. Your existence there is not that it's there's no purpose. There is still a purpose in the hereafter as well. And like you mentioned, there are stages that a moment or people in paradise will go through, and they will try to achieve the next level. And every time they're at that level, they would want to get even higher and closer to Allah the Almighty. So just because we are in heaven, in the hereafter, doesn't mean that we don't have a purpose anymore and we're just there. But there's also a purpose that continuously drives us to be a better being, I guess, in the hereafter as well. So Jazakallah Marbisa for that answer, and hopefully Usman Saib, that was would have answered your question as well. Jazakallah. And next we have another question. They put it on the screen. They say, Assalamu alaikum. Even if one concedes that there is a God who has guided our creation, why should I believe that God is not indifferent, or worse, has malevolent intent towards our existence? Why should we matter? So trying to understand this question, I'm gonna.
Why should it matter?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, if God has guided our creation, if He has created us,
that's a very good question.
Yeah, then why? Then what is the?
Yes. I thank him. Whoever the person is, I thank him for his questions. Actually, a very, very good question, and actually plays a big role into the theme of our topic for discussing this.
Right.
So the Holy Quran says, his basically question, we can rephrase it in a way that, why should we even bother to look for a God who is there? We don't know He's better than us, worse than us, so on and so forth. But why should we bother and look for Him, search for Him?
Right.
So God the Almighty mentioned the answer in the Holy Quran, and He says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما خلقت الجن والإنس إلا ليعبدون, that I have created all human beings, all jinn and human beings, just to worship me. Now, if we want to go a little more in depth in this subject, that what does it mean when there is a higher being who created us telling us just come and worship me? For example, let's say, simplify it. Let's say that someone invented the laptops.
Right.
He would have to give some sort of commands for the laptops
for it to work,
and how to work in a way that it can be healthy, it can run for a long time,
right,
in a healthy manner.
Yes.
Otherwise, to invent it and throw it to people to find out,
right, yeah,
it will just ruin everything.
Yes.
So when God says, I created you so you may worship me, it's not just for fun, just so you may. It's a big favor from God upon us.
Yeah, and God does not need our worship.
He does not need our worship. He wants us.
Yes, that worship is for us.
Yeah, it's not a need, it's a want.
Right.
He wants us to worship Him. Why? Once we start worshiping Him, once we find the purpose of why He asked us this, we will feel it. We will have the answer ourselves. And the best way to answer it is once we experience it ourselves. So if I say that God is, the Holy Quran is a manual book, right? He created us and told us this is the manual book. This is how you function as human beings.
Right.
This is how you function as a nation. This is how you function as a society, living together from different ethnicities, different religions, different backgrounds.
Right.
This is how you should function.
Yes.
Follow it and see how much fun you're going to have in this life.
Right.
Just try to follow it.
Right.
For example, let's take one small command from God, which also answers other questions regarding Islam and equality for women and so on. For example, the Holy Quran tells us that in terms of heirs, inheritance, when someone dies, right? A person dies, a father dies, he has 2 sisters and 1 son. He left for them $100,000, let's say.
Right.
20, according to Islam, half should go to the son, and the other 2 quarters go to the sisters. Right. So let's say one son got $50,000, 2 sisters, each one got $25,000, and this is equal. Why is it equal? It does not mean that men are better than women. No. Right. It does not mean that men have superiority above women and so on.
Right.
This means, according to Islam, the man has a responsibility of the expenses of the house.
Right.
This means that whatever expense comes out of the house, the woman living in that house should never worry about it, whether it's rent, phone bills, food, groceries, any
Clothing,
small
everything,
thing, she should not worry about this.
Right.
She should not be thinking, how am I going to get the money to buy this?
Right.
Even if for her own needs, it's the man's duty to think how should he fulfill his.
Right.
And now coming back to the nature of human being. Having said this, I actually forgot one part. Whereas for the woman, they do not have to spend a single penny on their house. They don't have to buy even a bag of milk for their house. Right.
But if they do it,
so the $25,000 they got is totally to their pocket.
Right.
It's not really going anywhere. It's just
else.
Totally to their pocket. If they want to help, they can help. It's their own choice.
Right. But Islam does not put this responsibility on them
on women
to spend for
the other way around works the same way, which means that the woman's duty is to work at home, to take care of the kids, to this does not free man from responsibility. We don't want to get into too much details, but since I mentioned it, I should mention it clearly. This does not mean that the man should not help at home. He can help in anything, washing dishes, doing laundry, mopping the floor, and so on and so forth. He should be helping, as the Holy Prophet ﷺ used to help his wives.
Right.
But this is not his main responsibility. If you switch roles and responsibilities, you will see a lot of mental illnesses happening. If the woman wants to say, no, I want to work, I want to pay rent the same way, I want to buy groceries the same way, I want to do everything the same way, then you will see that a lot of mental illnesses happen. If you enforce man, I'm speaking in general, maybe in some cases it could work.
Exactly.
It could work out. But in most cases, if you give this responsibility to man to sit at home and take care of everything at home, and the wife will work outside, then this will also cause his mental illness.
Right.
Because he's not made like this.
Yes, like that's not in his nature.
It's not in his nature.
Right.
Having said this, Islam does allow women to work. To study. In terms of studies, we do not say allow. In fact, Islam promotes education for men and female equally. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. Very equal. If for becoming a doctor, a teacher, an engineer, so on and so forth, we do encourage. They can work. But do not forget your main responsibilities. You can do all these things. Why did I touch upon this subject?
Am I saying that it's out of
it's not out of place. It is actually coming back to his question. If you follow these commandments of God, you will see that every single part of your nature has been fitting its space. And you will live in peace. And coming back to even worship. Likewise, if you follow the commandments of worship, the way you should worship God, you will find that the inner peace that we were created for, it is actually for our own sake to live a normal life, materialistically and also spiritually. Once we follow all these commandments, we will find the reason why God created us. It was not just for fun. It was for our own sake.
Exactly. And Razab, I think having is, Allah the Almighty, God giving people a book, for example, for the Muslims, the Holy Quran, and we believe that that's the last Sharia and it's for the entirety of mankind. That also shows that Allah the Almighty cares for His creation and to guide them, like you mentioned, that this is a guidebook for us to for this world and for the hereafter as well. So just having a spiritual book, a guide, shows that Allah the Almighty cares for us and guides us in every manner and every part of our lives. So Jazakallah, Marvi Sahib, and Jazakallah to our commentator as well for asking the question.
One last sentence that could summarize the question for the questioner. I think his name is Farhat. So if Farhat Sahib thinks of...
no, I think that's the next one. This person, Epsilon, that's what's his name.
But that person.
Yes.
If he thinks of anything good he did in his life, any favor that he did for others, for his siblings or any other fellow human beings, why did he do that favor?
Exactly.
Something told him that I should do this favor. The way God created us, it was a favor from Him upon us. When you do a favor to someone, you're not benefiting yourself. You could be benefiting in reward and maybe feeling good,
Right.
but the main person benefiting from it
Yeah.
is the one who you're doing it to.
Right. Right.
And the same way God created us
Right.
as a favor on us.
Right. No, Mirzab, I think a good way of understanding in this relationship between God and His creation is to a certain extent, is the relationship between a mother and her child, right?
100%.
So, a mother, she bears a child, she doesn't feed him or take care of him for her own benefit, but because of the love that she has for, the child that she has bore. So to a certain extent, we can understand the relationship between God and His creation with that relationship as well, that Allah the Almighty has created in this world between a mother and her child as well. So Jazakallah Rabbi Sahab for that answer. Moving on, we have another question from Farhat Wajid Khan Sahiba, I think, yes. They asked that this is coming back to the concept of barzakh. They asked that, what's the concept of barzakh? Could you please shed more light on this? How long will one stay there? Are people who are dead thousands of years go still waiting in barzakh? I think, Rabbi Sahab, this relates back to the concept that, okay, like shuhada, prophets, they died, some shuhada, have passed away. Prophets have died thousands of years ago. Are they still in that barzakh stage? Have they not felt the air of paradise yet? I think it's coming towards that kind of concept. So if you can quickly just touch up on barzakh.
No, the prophets, when they die, we should make this clear. They go to paradise.
Yes,
they are in paradise right now.
Right.
And now, coming back to the fact of how long will people be in barzakh, and what is barzakh, and so on. Barzakh is, God did not mention the time period. We will be staying in barzakh, in this world, let's say,
right,
after death. But the Prophet Muhammad mentioned something about this type of world that we go to after death, and that could make us encourage us do good things for those who have passed away.
Right.
The Prophet Muhammad mentioned that those who have, every human being,
right,
believer, disbelievers equally, they have, let's say, a sort of hole or a window,
right,
in paradise, all of them. And their deeds in this life,
right,
will be, this also answers the question of how long you will stay there.
Right.
So let's say I have a window in this life. I didn't do good enough. Maybe I did some good things, right?
Yes.
This window will open a little bit.
Right.
Let's say it's in a circle. And then if I did good enough, then it will be as big as it fits me.
Right.
And then I go to paradise.
Yes.
But if I didn't do good enough to enter, it will be big.
Small.
It widened a little bit,
right,
because I didn't do much.
Right.
However, the Prophet ﷺ says, referring to the hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, how we should pray for those who passed away, how we should pay donation on their behalf, and so on.
Right.
He says, every single time a person prays for a deceased member of his family or of any. So let's say the window is this small for me.
Right.
I have my kids, my friends, my other members. They are praying for me, asking Allah, oh Allah, grant him highest status in paradise.
Right.
Okay. Or they pay donation on my behalf. They help other in my name and on my behalf. God keeps widening.
Right.
And if you do it a lot, then God will keep widening it until you enter paradise.
Right. Right.
So these small windows are there in barzakh.
In barzakh.
And they keep opening based on the deeds. So you can say that for each person it's different.
Right. Right. No, Jazakallah for shedding light. And I think we need to also mention that there are certain ilms or certain concepts in Islam for which we don't have a lot of knowledge about, and especially the hereafter and the soul.
The 6 pillars of Islam, we cannot encompass their knowledge.
Right, exactly.
Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu mentioned. So, al-iman billah wa malaikati. So believing in Allah, His angels, the books, the prophets, and the life hereafter.
And Judgment Day. So these things we learned these from the prophets of Allah who were guided by revelation and by by Allah the Almighty. So we learn a little bit of here from Hadith and from the Holy Quran as well, from the commentaries, but we can't say for sure how the life hereafter will be. And I think another book that is great for this is The Philosophy of the Teachings of Islam by the Promised Messiah, ﷺ, where he has discussed to a certain extent these topics and has tried to explain how the hereafter will be, how our deeds in this world will affect our life in the hereafter. So
there's even another booklet, could be probably an address of Hazrat Muslim Maud called Life After Death.
Okay. So it's in English as well.
I believe it has been translated to
English. Right. Yeah. So these two books, I think, are highly, for somebody who wants to learn about these things. And of course, we should mention that we can't really know everything about the hereafter as well, because if we knew everything about the hereafter, what reward we and what we're not going to get, then what's the point of this world? Exactly. How are we supposed to act? So Jazakallah for the question. They commented again that I have another question. In this life, we have prayers and so much expected of us by Allah the Almighty. We have goals to reach. So once we're in the heaven, what do we do for eternity? And I think maybe we already covered this in our previous thing, that the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that in paradise there are stages. Yes. And every moment is trying to reach the next stage. And between every stage it's a span of 100 years. 100 years. So just because we're there in eternity in the hereafter, that doesn't mean that our work and our good deeds stop. Once we're there, inshallah, we have this
increased.
Once we're there, we have our this increase in our spirituality that we want to get to the next stage and the stage after that. So our purpose doesn't stop just in this world. We still have a purpose in the hereafter as well. So Jazakallah for your questions. So I think these are all the questions that were in the comment sections that we had. So Jazakallah to our viewers.
They were very good questions.
Yeah, very good questions. Yeah, mashallah.
We thank the viewers for that.
No, Jazakallah for asking those questions. So we have around 34 minutes. Do you want to get to the last question from last week?
We can summarize it.
Yeah, we can summarize. Okay. Yeah. So from last week's stream, the last question that we were not able to answer, and we'll try to get to right now, is regarding morality. And the questioner had asked that moral systems operate with respect to an explicit goal, like human flourishing, maximizing free will and freedom, and to reduce harm. So if they say that if this moral compass of any moral teaching is based on authority, then there is no focus. And I think they're trying to get trying to ask the question that if moral system is based on authority, and if we're doing everything because God said so, then there's no morality related to that. So if you want to make a quick comment.
So actually coming back to one of the questions where I spoke about the nature and how God created the Holy Quran as a manual book.
Right.
And taking this, let's try to do this experiment on the fact that we live in any country.
Right.
And there is the roads are made, the stop signs, the traffic lights, and so on.
Right.
Everything is made.
Yes.
Let's take out police.
Yes.
Let's take out licenses. You don't have to make any license.
I mean, there are countries where this doesn't exist.
Exactly. And look how this country is
practical,
living.
Right?
Yes. You will find some people that maybe have some common sense that let's just drive maybe 120 kilometer per hour.
Right.
And some say, no, actually, it's more sensible to just drive 150.
Yes.
We need to get to work fast.
Right.
And so many other rules that come on the road.
Right.
There is nothing that tells them what's the right thing. Everyone will have his own opinion.
Right.
Likewise, it applies on us and on our morality.
Yes.
If everyone says it's moral to just actually have kids without getting married, right? Yeah. I don't need to get married.
Yeah.
If you actually try to study, because some people could consider, and which some countries actually consider it a normal thing,
right?
Even here in the West, that I have seen people, I've heard about people, their marriages will include their kids, like their wedding.
Yes.
So their kids are invited to their weddings,
right?
Which means they have had kids.
Yes.
Without any wedding.
Without any wedding.
What does the wedding do in Islam? I'm bringing only one example.
Yes.
The wedding, or the concept of wedding, or getting married, or getting engaged, and so on and so forth, it brings the feeling of responsibility. According to Islam, you cannot get married without assigning a haq meher, what do you call money dowry, for the woman.
For the
and this brings responsibility feelings. You know, if I'm getting married, I am signing a form in which I say I will pay this much to my future life partner, and I'm responsible for these many things. I will feel the responsibility if I do not do this. I got married today. And sorry, not married. I just have a life partner. Without a license.
Without that contract that we
without contract, yes. And we got into an argument. Oh, I didn't like this wife. The next day I'll go to someone else. If this happens, you will see most women, most men divorced, living in depression. When you have some sort of responsibility, you will feel it. So to get to this point that you need a license to drive, you need a contract to get married, you need so many things to do other things. There are some conditions. Human beings don't have to sit and think. God has created us. It was his responsibility to tell us how to live. And therefore we lived based on his commands.
His commands, right. Yeah, no, coming to your point that you mentioned that having kids outside of marital contracts. Recently, a fellow friend and a colleague, who was a missionary, he was posted in another country. He just recently came back, and I asked him what was your experience and how was the society, and he mentioned exactly this, that, you know, in that society, in that country, it's a norm to have kids outside of marriages. It's a norm. It'll be one father, and he'll have like 5 different partners, and have like 3 kids from each partner. And in that sense, that man is free from any responsibility. He's like, well, I didn't sign any contract.
That's exactly what I meant, actually. So imagine this, it's considered something normal. Now, this is their morality. It's fine. But other nation considers it bad. It's a bad moral life to live. Right? So how do you know what's right then? In some nations, stealing could be something fine. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Another nation, it's a crime. So you need some higher authority, and that higher authority should be the one who made us, who created us.
And I think human nature is such that it requires authority to enforce rules. And you gave an example of like having laws for licensing, having laws for driving and stuff like that. Because if you don't have that authority, then, you know, majority of the people, you know, because people are like kal-anam, like they're like cattle, they'll just do whatever they want. And no, so Jazakallah for that question. I think, I mean, we could talk on about this, but now we're coming close to our ending of the program, inshallah. So Jazakallah to all our viewers who came and joined us today, and especially our viewers who asked us questions in the comments. We encourage you to please share, you know, this link, and share this video with your friends and families across your social media platforms. Just to give you an overview, if you're joining us here for the first day, or just you know, a refresher for those of us who join us regularly, that we have 3 streams in a week by the Ask Islam team. One is on Wednesdays, which is the Urdu stream for our Urdu speaking audience, and that happens at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then we have our English stream every single Thursday at 12 p.m. and we are here right now. And then we have another stream for our Arabic speaking viewers, which is on Fridays. Inshallah, will be tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we do encourage our viewers to share the links of these streams with your family and friends on your social media platforms, so that more people can benefit. They can join us here on stream or through our comments to, you know, fully benefit from our topics that we choose for the week, and the discussions that we have here on a weekly basis. So with that, Jazakallah to Musa Shambur Sai for joining me here in the studios today. And I think this was a good setup, better conversation.
100%.
So inshallah, we'll try to do this more often in this setup, so that we can have a better, fruitful interaction in the future, inshallah, as well. So with that, inshallah, we will see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.